This is The Water Table.
A chance to hear the agricultural side of these issues.
Place for people to go find information and education.
Water management is just going to become even more critical into the future.
How misunderstood what we do is.
I would encourage people to open their minds and listen to this dialogue.
This week on The Water Table, I'm interviewing Kelby Kiefer and Dave Fluelling from Iowa LICA. We're talking about the Melbourne, Iowa Field Day that Iowa LICA puts on every other year on July 26 and 27. This is an informative podcast, and you're going to want to listen. Welcome to the Water Table Podcast, everyone. We're back today. I have guests from Iowa Land Improvement Contractors, Kelby Kiefer and Dave Fluelling. Kelby is Executive Director, and Dave is the current President of Iowa LICA. And we have a great show for you today. We're going to talk about a lot of things LICA related. So welcome to the podcast, Kelby and Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So, I wanted to start. I've been in the industry for over 26 years personally, and one of the first things I did in January of 1997 when I joined Prinsco was head to the annual Iowa LICA convention at the Holiday Inn in Des Moines, where it still is. And it's a for our industry, the winter convention in Iowa is one of the bigger events that happens for our industry as a vendor to the industry. That if you're in the industry, you're going to Iowa LICA. That's a place you want to be seen. Other states, obviously, LICA has a national chapter, but each state has a chapter in the Midwest. But Iowa is much larger than the other states, probably larger than most of the Midwest states combined as far as attendance and members. And I don't know who wants to answer that question, but probably the first question in that is just why? What does Iowa do different, and why do you guys think the state LICA chapter is so strong?
Well, I'll start with that one. That's a great question. I think there's a lot of reasons. It boils down to, I think in the past we've had, it's our area, our central location here, and there's tons of conservation work going on. So of course we have tons of contractors that do that type of work. I think that helps our membership. I think also we've had some great leaders in the past, especially executive directors that have really pushed this membership, and that's helped out tremendously on our membership numbers. Another thing Iowa's done is we started an insurance program here a few years ago, and that really increased our memberships a lot. It's actually one of the reasons why I joined a few years ago. And it really helped our membership. However, we are struggling here recently with our membership numbers are going down, and other states are, if not passing us, are catching us. And some of the things we see in some of the other chapters, I believe it's New Jersey has started some type of an apprentice program that's really gained a lot of memberships here recently. We've learned out at the national convention. So those are my kind of ideas. I think it boils down to this great leadership here in Iowa. I mean, we got a lot of great leaders that really help our membership grow.
Yeah, and so I'm new I've only been in this position for a year. I've been around the Iowa LICA chapter since 2019. So just being from outside of the industry and just kind of being on the sidelines for a few years, the things that I see in Iowa LICA that impress me the most and I feel are a draw to new members are for our contractors, the loyalty that they have to the industry and to the organization. A lot of our businesses are multi-generational businesses, and the current generation has seen dad, grandpa, great-grandpa be a member of LICA, and they continue that tradition when they take over the business. And longtime employees who maybe go on to start their own business, they see that loyalty to the organization, and they too want to join and get the benefits that their previous employer got from LICA. Another thing is the passion. our contractors are passionate about their work. It's not a job. They're doing it because they love it. They love getting out there in the dirt, running the machines, and they spread that to their employees. They spread the word about Leica and conservation and the education that we provide to other contractors in their area. They bring them along to events, spread the word, invite them to join the membership. And so I've just been really impressed by the loyalty and the passion that the Iowa chapter shows. And same thing with our associate members. I get phone calls from potential contractor members saying, well, my dealer, my salesman at, whichever dealership they're working with was talking about Iowa Leica, and they really encouraged me to reach out and learn more and get involved. So I don't think any chapter has one secret key to membership, but I think the loyalty and the passion that our contractor and associate members have for Iowa Leica is a huge benefit that we possess.
Yeah, and just listening, I think you guys have touched on all of them that I've heard. From my perspective, being where I, like I said, in 1997 was the first time I came. So it's been a long time. I haven't been every year, but most of them. And I think the thing that sticks out to me is passion and kind of that fraternity, which every state has, right? I mean, people go and they see their competitors, which for one day or one weekend, they can kind of lay that down and learn together about industry issues and how they can do things better. But also when you have a larger mass of people like Iowa does, then that just gets that much stronger, because you get to meet new people each time, and somebody has a grandkid, and there's some nostalgia about seeing those grandkids with one of their competitors' grandkids, or swimming in the pool, whatever it might be. That there's a lot of fraternity of business there that just grows relationships, and so that relational piece is a big part of it, and I hope it can continue. And I think that does dovetail into the the Iowa Leica farm that you guys purchased in 2003. I think that was a vision amongst the board and some of the long-term contractors on what they should do. And why don't you talk a little bit about that? Like, kind of how did this all come about? I know some of the details, just probably enough to be dangerous, but not enough to share. So how did the Iowa Leica come about in 2003? And then we'll get into where it's gone from, over the last 20 years now already.
You bet. We had a vision of building this farm as kind of we call it like our one-stop shop, basically, to show off about any type of conservation practices you can imagine here in Iowa. And we've been fortunate enough in the last several years, thanks to our great associates, to build these practices, and we've kind of tied it into our field days. So we're kind of killing two birds with one stone. We have this great opportunity for our members to come out and play with the latest and greatest equipment during our field days. But however, the LICA also benefits by getting these great structures built actually by our contractors on the site. And it's a really great place to come and visit. If you've never been there, definitely check it out. We've had unbelievable amount of visitors from all kinds of walks of life, not only contractors, but state legislators. It's a great place to bring, and so they can see these conservation practices firsthand right there. And it's a great place to come and go. You can actually do a self-guided tour on this farm. And so now we're struggling with the fact of what do we do next with the farm, because we've almost built about every practice you can possibly think. And it'll be interesting to see where our board takes it from here, if we continue on at a different location and start all over again or not. But yeah, it's been a great ride, and it's a really neat place to see.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, 2005 was the first year that you had a field day after you purchased it, and talk just a little bit about, all the different practices that you guys perform there from the standpoint of conservation on a farm.
Oh yeah, we have a tremendous amount of list of stuff here on that farm. Basically, we got everything from terraces, we have wetlands, we have a bioreactor, we have saturated buffers, a rain garden, we have some drain tile, we have a sediment control basin, And probably the highlight of our entire farm is our recent pond that we've built down there. It was basically built as a dam, but it's created such a large pond that we actually have fish in there, and it's amazing to drive by and see the amount of people in there, the public anyways, checking it out and catching a few fish. So that's kind of our highlight of the whole farm is the pond, and it's really neat. You can see it from the road, and the public's welcome to drive in there and check it out. There's a road all the way around it. So yeah, it's really neat. But if you want to see any kind of conservation practices in person, this is the place to go to see it all. It's right there.
Sure. And in regards to all those practices, has there been any opportunity to do any testing on that farm by any government agency or university or anything like that shows any of the positive results that the conservation practices have brought to the farm?
Absolutely. Yeah, we actually have, I believe it's Iowa State University. They're doing a lot of testing, and Kelby might know a little bit more about that, but I know they've been there for several years, and it's amazing to hear the results that are coming off that farm. I've heard anywhere from 50% of the phosphates and almost 100% of the nitrates have been removed before they leave the farm, which is tremendous. So.
Yeah, I mean, after 20 some years of owning the farm and having this vision and installing all of these conservation practices, yeah, they, excuse me, it now controls the runoff from a watershed of over 1,000 acres. And like Dave said, he had the right numbers, 50% of the phosphates and almost 100% of the nitrates before that water leaves our farm. So it's just a great demonstration of what the Leica contractors do every day to help reduce the nutrients in the soil out of the water in Iowa.
Yeah, I'm doing a little research before the podcast too. The what you guys do when you remove those phosphates and nitrates is on over 1,000 acres of watershed. So it's not just the farm. And do you guys know the size of the farm? Is it 160 acres?
It is an 80-acre farm.
80 acres. Okay.
Yep.
I did have that in here somewhere. But so, what the practices that you have been able to put in place from, what you want to demonstrate, what you guys have learned through Iowa Leica on 80 acres is also cleaning up the watershed of over 1,000 acres. So that's pretty neat. And, these are things that our industry has to continue to tell the general public around. We do have some challenges when it comes to water quality in agriculture and what happens in agriculture. And we can be the solution in a lot of cases. That's what the Water Table Podcast is all about, is how do we educate and bring solutions to what we're doing with water quality in agriculture. And here's just a really good example of practices that have been put in place on 80 acres that are the water is being conveyed and stored and treated, really is what's happening on this 80 acres from that 1,000-acre watershed, and coming out cleaner and more viable for the general public, which, how I look at it is clean water should be a right for all of our citizens of the state of Iowa and of the world, really. So, and you guys are doing that. So well done on that. Let's talk just a little bit more about the field day coming up. July 26 and 27 this year. Is this something, I think it's done every other year, is that correct?
Correct.
And was it something in the beginning you did every year and changed, or do you know that?
I don't.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, just been every other year, and I know there's a lot of advertising things that goes on, a lot of excitement that's built into this thing. What kind of things happen there? What can somebody expect if they were to come to let me just say to Melbourne, Iowa, is where this is at for listeners. We'll put this in the notes so people can find out on July 26 and 27. But what does a day at this field, what does a day of these 2 days look like at the field day in Melbourne, Iowa on July 26 and 27?
You bet. Kelby, you want me to hit on that?
Sure, you can start and I'll fill in.
Yeah, I'll start off. Basically it's our a place to go for any of our members, and actually we're open to the public, and we invite everybody to come out there and check out the latest and greatest and what our associates have for construction equipment, and also our manufacturers and products people to bring out their latest, greatest products to check out. And it's a great place to get a hands-on experience on running this equipment and also actually playing in the dirt. I mean, basically. But not only that, we have a lot of safety demonstrations going on during this event, so it's a great place to get educated too as well. And Kelby's got some great stuff lined up here that she could probably fill you in on our actual scheduling of what we got actually coming. And yeah, it's definitely neat. I kind of call it our own version of Con Expo, if you've been to Con Expo before, but it's on a much smaller scale, but yet kind of geared more towards our central location here in Iowa. And we got a lot of tiling equipment on hand and any kind of excavators and dozers and scrapers and all kinds of stuff you can think of. Anything from small skid loaders to, we actually have a DOT officer coming out to do some truck inspections on somebody's volunteered to bring a truck out. So if you ever have any questions with a DOT officer, now's the time to come and check that out hands-on.
Sure. Sounds like a lot of great stuff. Kelby?
Yeah, so specifically the projects that we're working on this year is they're going to be working on tiling about 15 acres on the east hillside by the pond. And they're doing a saturated buffer installation as well. And then on another portion of the farm, we're going to be leveling and grading off the hill behind the building that we have there. And like you said, we have lots of demonstrations going. Things are still changing every day. I don't have a finalized schedule yet. People are still reaching out, asking to get involved. But things that we do know that are coming, we are going to have a trench rescue demo featuring a truck-mounted davit system. And we have a sheet piling installation demo. Dave already talked about the DOT officer coming out and doing a live inspection. We're going to have the Water Table podcast on site. So that's exciting. We'll do some more sessions with Jamie. And we're going to have people out there to talk about the saturated buffer installation as well as the new batch and build process. We have a equipment operator simulation trailer coming out, so you can try your skills in the virtual operator. We're working on getting a little mini rodeo or mini equipment playground for people just to get in the seat and test their skills, play around. We're looking at getting some antique tractors out there to have on display. I'm trying to rally people to participate in a little friendly cornhole tournament Wednesday night. Get some food trucks out there, just have fun, kind of that Sunday night convention feel where, associates can be there, contractors can be there, general public, and just have some fun social time. So that's kind of where we are right now. And like I said, we're still adding equipment, demos, booth displays every day. So
Sure. So July 26, 27, what are the kind of the official times of being open? I'm sure people will be around, like you say, in the evenings too, but what's kind of the official?
Yeah, programming will run from 8 to 5 both days.
Okay.
And then, like I said, we're hoping to have a fun Wednesday evening there as well after all the work is done.
Sure. So if you're listening to the podcast, we're going to make sure that we air this before the field day, obviously, so that people know. But want to take a trip to Iowa, or if you're from Iowa, come down. Lots of things to see, to enjoy, to learn from. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot of food too. So keep everybody happy. So we'll hope for good weather and something that people can connect to on one level or not. And, it sounds like almost for everybody, whether it's general public and you just want to learn a little bit. One thing that in our industry that makes it so challenging is that what we do a lot of times is hard to understand because it's under the ground, or it's, a terrace. You don't see a terrace working, right? It just works when you get a big rain and and it's hard for somebody that doesn't understand, or just our city cousins as they're driving by, to know what is that doing when they see Dave's crew out working. What are they actually doing? What positive impact does that have on the land and water? But here's an opportunity for them to come and have it explained to them and see. So then all of a sudden, when you're driving along Iowa, you're going to see these practices all over the place that you didn't see before if you're there. So if you get a chance and looking for something to do, if you're not connected to our industry, come on out, because I think you'll learn something positive that you can then share with others. So, and that's what it's all about, is for you, Kelby, and Dave, and myself to continue to be ambassadors for our industry, because what we do is a good thing, and we provide a lot of jobs. We provide some clean water for people, and we're building, we're creating more food for the world every day. So it's a great thing to be involved with, and thank you guys for what you're doing. That's been your part in this.
Yes. Yeah. Like we said, please come join us. Contractors, we want to get you guys in the seat of this equipment that the associate members are coming out to demo. And general public, if you just want to learn, it's a great time. We'll have lots of knowledgeable people from the industry on site who can explain all the different practices that we have on the farm.
Yeah, I'll just wrap this up with the 3 goals that you guys have for your day and your 2-day event. Kelby, you want to share what those are?
Yeah. So the first one is the equipment and product demonstration. We want to show everybody what is available in the industry. The second one is education and training. This is a great place to come learn about conservation practices from the experts. And then the third one is building the actual conservation structures. So we're going to be implementing them, and you're going to be able to see it happening live in action. So.
Yep. Great. Well, I look forward to seeing a lot of our industry associates there and colleagues, and I'll be there with the water table. If anybody's listening and they have, a burning desire to talk to me about topics that they think that we need to share for our industry to make our industry better, let's talk about it there. And maybe somebody listening will actually be on the water table impromptu from Melbourne, Iowa. So thanks for joining us on the water table today, Dave and Kelby, and thanks for all you guys are doing to make our industry better and to be leaders in the water management space.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for listening to this episode. I have so much fun recording these. I hope you have as much fun listening as I do recording. These episodes are available on all major podcast platforms as well as YouTube. So find them and download them when you can. Thanks for joining us.